BBC News at 8 o'clock.
Anybody with an idea, possibly in their garage, can go off and shoot the moon and do stupendously well.
If only you let men alone, they'll be good. A typical American reformer said to me the other day. He believed, as most Americans do, in the unsophisticated man, in his basic kindliness and his instinctive practical sense. A critical outlook seemed to the reformer an inhuman one. He distrusted the appearance of the expert. He believed that whatever faults the common man might show were due to some kind of Machiavellian corruption. He had the American dream, which may be summed up, I think, in the statement that the undisciplined man is the salt of the earth.
A secret society was also being reborn.
Very hard to negotiate in a fishbowl. The real negotiation, as Jonathan will attest, often takes place backstage, not front stage. And the corollary there is the ability to step back for a moment. There's a lot of red lines being drawn. There are a lot of veiled threats being made. It's to realize this is a long-haul negotiation. This isn't just about getting a deal. It's about changing a fundamental relationship. And so it requires us to step back, go to the balcony, which is a metaphor for taking a step back from the stage for a moment. It began with a phase that was a private phase. And I think those conversations, those quiet conversations, those problem-solving conversations, we need those informal channels if we're going to succeed in this negotiation.
But Jonathan Powell, you can only assume that those quiet conversations have already been happening, surely.
No, I don't think they have. I think that there's been really strong discipline on the part of the European governments not to engage.
When I think I need help, I ask for it. I don't philosophise about it.
I spent the whole afternoon with my reviewer's hat on thinking, how serious is this?
But as you suggested at the outset, there has been quite a lot of tough talk from everybody, but how much of that is just public posturing?
Public posturing has its place because we all have our politics, but I just think in Britain we tend to be specifically rather bad at this public posturing. What happens is we set ourselves up, we had this in government too, you set yourself up for a position that you can't actually achieve in the negotiation, and then the press accuses you either of having failed in the negotiation or climbed down.
It's absolutely core to kind of create the atmosphere in which you can arrive at a solution that works for everybody.
So, Jonathan, would you be thinking about briefing yourself on the personalities of some of the people who will be round that negotiating table if you were going into these talks?
Well, that's obviously important, but one of the things we have to bear in mind here is we're negotiating with 27 different governments, and it's going to be extraordinarily difficult for them to agree on anything. And once they've agreed it, it's going to be almost impossible for them to change it. So when we go and sit at the table, we're not just facing one person, we have to understand, we're facing 27 governments with 27 different sorts of politics.
Do a stage musical with this in the West End, bring in the pounds for years to come.
We've been changing the face of the earth for, really a long time now. We're changing the world. There's no question about that.
I spent the whole afternoon with my reviewer's hat on thinking, how serious is this project? It's blatantly a joke. It's extremely banal.
Yeah, I think the first thing, actually, the foundation of successful negotiation is the ability not to react impulsively. Because as the old saying goes, when angry, you will make the best speech you will ever regret.
To what extent is it always about the issues, or is it also about understanding the psychology of who you're up against?
Without question, psychology plays a very important role, both individual and collective. Negotiation is an exercise in influence. You're trying to change the mind of the other side. How can we possibly change the other side's mind unless we know where that mind is right now? So to me, the core competence we need is the ability to put ourselves in their shoes. Things look different in Berlin, in Paris, in Madrid, in Warsaw than they do in London, and we need to understand where they're coming from, their feeling of, including their feelings of, betrayal perhaps.
The Crown Prosecution Service says it's considering its options in the case of a man who walked free from a court in Manchester after admitting beating his wife with a cricket bat and forcing her to drink bleach. The judge has been criticised by domestic abuse campaigners for saying he wasn't sure if Mustafa Bashir's victim was particularly vulnerable because she was intelligent and had a job. BBC News.
Now on Radio 4, Revelation. By the way, this is not yet another example of the BBC's left-wing bias, so don't email in saying, why don't these lefty, commie, feminist comedians make jokes about how left-wing women turn around, like Claire Short or Harriet Harman or Polly Toynbee?